anything?
Well, maybe you can find another good used one.
Let's see. I tried just three.
Yeah, I understand.
One night to welcome back.
I thought maybe I was looking at things differently, but I think we're on the same page.
You're right. You are right.
Okay. Yeah, Matt. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to limit them to like a minute. I mean, otherwise we're going to be here
We want to hear the same thing.
It's the same thing over. Yeah.
Thank you.
And people submit
Oh,
letters.
I'm doing it. Don't worry. Okay.
I'm ready when you're ready.
Set this over here, just let her roll, guys.
All
You want
right.
me to mumble?
Yeah, please.
Mike, are you doing? You feeling okay?
I'm doing good.
I saw you from a distance a couple weeks ago at a cross country meet, but I couldn't make my way over to say hello and see how you were doing.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you.
Are you all ready?
Yeah.
Sure. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I'll call the meeting September 7, 2023 meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, Mr. Hodge, would you take the roll, please?
Sure. Mr. Harding? Mr. Hodge here? Mr. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Stone Street? Mr. Tully?
I am here.
And we have a quorum. Mr. Stewart's
Stuart, here.
here. Now we have a quorum.
All right. We have two requests on the agenda tonight. One is BZA VAR 2023-02, which is from Appalachian Power Company, which submitted a zoning variance request. Second is BZA ADA PL 2023-01, Machsa Realty 4 LLC. Does anyone have a conflict regarding either one of these two agenda items?
No, sir.
No.
No.
Okay. With that, we will get started, but before we start, there's a lot of people here. The room echoes, as you can probably hear. So I'm going to ask that you not speak amongst yourselves because it will disrupt the proceedings. All comments should be directed to the board. Please request to be recognized by me prior to making any public comments. Before you're permitted to make public comments, you will need to step to the microphone, be sworn in, and then state your name and address. The board will hear testimony from each applicant and their expert witness or witnesses. Each speaker from the public will be allowed to speak once, and the comment time will be limited. The public hearing is held to receive comment. It is not a forum for debate. With that, we will turn to the first, to agenda item number 5, which is Appalachian Power Company. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I skipped agenda item number 4. So we'll go back. We have before us the minutes from the August 3, 2023 meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Yes.
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
With that, I will sign the minutes. Turn it over to you.
Okay, we're going to start off with the variance request for tonight. Appalachian Power Company has submitted a zoning variance application. The applicant requests a variance from Article 1300.05A of the zoning ordinance. This article requires a 20-foot wide screening buffer area for the non-residential use project as it is beside of an existing residence. The applicant is proposing a 15-foot wide screening buffer area instead. The subject property is located at 13393 Winfield Road in Winfield. That's tax map 184 parcel 1, and the property is zoned C2 high-density commercial. The main considered provisions in which this request will be reviewed tonight are Articles 150, 650, 1300, and 2100 of the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance defines variance as a modification of the strict terms of the relevant regulations of this ordinance, where such modification will not be contrary to the public interest and where owing to conditions peculiar to the property that are not a result of the action of the applicant. A literal enforcement of the regulations would result in unnecessary and undue hardship. On March 2nd this year, Winfield Hydro Plant Office and Warehouse, which is also Appalachian Power Company, applied for a permit for new commercial construction of an office and warehouse development. The submitted permit application is included as Attachment A in your packet. At this time, construction had already begun and the concrete slab foundation with utilities were in place. An AEP representative, the name is Mr. Joshua Blake, stated that his employer leases the subject parcel from the property owner, which is the United States of America Army Corps of Engineers. An existing residential home is located on parcel 25.26 of tax map 184. This residential use directly abuts the subject parcel on the east side. Review of the submitted site plans found that 15 feet exists between the poured concrete slab and the east property line. Article 1300.05 of the zoning ordinance requires a 20 feet wide screening area at this location due to the existing dwelling. On May 23rd, Appalachian Power Company submitted a variance application requesting the screening buffer area on the east boundary to be 15 feet instead of 20. That submitted application with the disclosure statement is in your packet as Attachment B. A copy of the submitted project site plan is included as Attachment C. The subject area in question is highlighted.
I'm sorry, that was me.
Also, if you'll notice, we got a full-size 2x3 plan there on the tripod, and the highlighted area is there also. Aerial photography combined with the zoning map is included as Attachment D. The subject parcel is zone C2, which is red. The specific development site is marked by an X. In the majority, zoning designations near parcel 1 are also C2. The below properties and uses directly surround the proposed warehouse and office development. The property's northern boundary is bordered by the Canal River and Winfield Locks and Dam. To the east, parcel 25.26 is an existing residential dwelling, also zone C2. To the south, parcels 3, 4, 25.3, and 25.7 are restaurants and parking lots zone C2. Parcel 1 extends westward from the construction site. This parcel's remaining area is currently used for both AEP and the locks and dam. The newly proposed structure is not mapped within FEMA's 100-year flood hazard area. On behalf of the applicant, Trad Engineering submitted written correspondence explaining the project and includes a response to Article 2100.08 DB. That is found in Attachment E. Photographs are in Attachment F. The BZA previously heard a similar request for screening buffer area width in 2003. the board denied variance 2003-10 for Michael Christ. Mr. Christ requested the buffer area to be 10 feet instead of 30 for a new warehouse and office site located off Erskine Lane in Scott Depot. This site was zoned I-1 light industrial, and the request was one of 6 variances Mr. Christ requested for that particular design of the construction project. The public hearing was legally advertised in the Hurricane Breeze on July 20. Abutting landowners within 250 feet were notified by a July 13th mailing, and a notice of public hearing was placed at the subject site on August the 18th. On June 5, a representative from Burdette Camping Center telephoned office staff with questions. After explanation of the variance request, the representative commented that their business would be unaffected by the BZA's decision on the matter. Mrs. Beth Pitzer visited the planning office on June 26. She inquired about the project and variance. After discussion, she opined that a 15-feet buffer width instead of a 20-feet width would not make a difference to her. If you do choose to approve the request, AEP will continue through the permitting process in order to receive an approved development and zoning permit. As normal, the back sheet of your packet includes the worksheet, and if you please use it to assist yourselves with making a decision and answer questions if you have any.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
So the adjoining property is zoned commercial, but it's currently someone's residing there.
Yes, C2 with a house.
Questions?
Is it the property where the residence is for sale right now?
Yes.
Is anyone here to speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay.
What's your name, please?
Lee McCoy.
Lee McCoy.
Right.
Will you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, make sure you speak into the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Basically, this project is, right now, they store all their pallets of conduit and transformers and what have you, conductors outside, and they're wanting to store them inside, which will really clean up the area. And as Mr. Hodge mentioned, it is for sale, and the sign says commercial, so they're selling it. The next door neighbor is trying to sell it as commercial, so it shouldn't be a residence very long when they sell it. And the reason the building has to be slid over towards the fence 5 feet closer than it should be is the Corps of Engineers has to have crane access down to the locks and dams to do maintenance on the rollers. And also the Corps has a monitoring well that's right in the middle of the parking lot, and to get the parking to work out right, and they wouldn't let us raise it or lower it or move it or do anything like that. So to work the parking lot out the way we did it, the building had to be shifted over a little bit. So that's really that's it. And I know you guys will notice that they've already started building it. They've already poured the foundation, which isn't even on my list of reasons to approve it, but it's one to keep in the back of your head, right?
Any questions, Mr. McCoy? You have one? Mr. McCoy, in our packet is a document, it's a letter from you dated May 23, 2023. In our packet, it's labeled as attachment E. You familiar with that letter?
Yes.
And you make several statements in that letter. If we were to ask you, would you adopt the statements in this letter as your testimony under oath today?
Yeah, yes, I would.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
All right, thanks.
All right, is there anyone here from the public to speak on this Appalachian Power variance? With that, we will close the public hearing with respect to this variance request and begin deliberations.
Move that. Okay. Mr. President, I'll make a motion to adopt as our factual record the staff testimony, testimony by Mr. McCoy, and the packet that's been presented for us.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made to adopt the factual record before us. Any discussion? And seconded. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes. We have adopted our factual record to be staff's testimony, Mr. McCoy's testimony, and the packet that was presented to us. So we have 4 criteria to consider for a zoning variance request. What I would suggest would be the most efficient is just to go through each one, have some discussion on each one, so that we can determine, each of you can determine what your decision will be. The first criteria is that the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, or the rights of adjacent property owners or residents.
It will not.
Will not.
I didn't hear any testimony from the adjacent property owner opposing it. It's also zoned commercial as it stands, so I don't think it would, I don't think any of that would apply.
And we also have the testimony through letter, which Mr. McCoy adopted, outlining this and stating that it would not adopt that. So we have evidence to indicate that this criteria is met, and we have no alternative evidence before us. All right. Any other discussion regarding that first criteria? The second criteria is the variance arises from special conditions or attributes which pertain to the property for which a variance is sought and which were not created by the person seeking the variance.
That is true, per stated Mr. McCoy.
I think the main issue that affects this buffer, as I gather it, is really the Corps of Engineers requirements, which are not the fault of the applicant.
I agree.
Any other discussion with regard to that second criteria?
I agree.
All right. The third criteria, the variance would eliminate an unnecessary hardship and permit a reasonable use of the land.
I agree with that. I mean, I can't see any downside to what they're doing. I don't see any downside to what they're proposing to do, only an upside of getting rid of all the material and equipment that sits there now.
Yeah, and the testimony is adopted by Mr. McCoy is that the building will provide a more secure and visually appealing way of storing materials, as well as have office space for the employees for the use that already exists.
Agreed.
Any further discussion with regard to the third criteria? The final criteria to consider, the variance will allow the intent of the zoning ordinance to be observed and substantial justice done. You know, here we've got, we heard that, about 20 years ago, there was a request that was denied. That was a request that required a 30-foot buffer, and they were going to use a 10-foot buffer. Here we've got a 20-foot buffer, and there's a proposal to use a 15-foot buffer as opposed to 20. Given that the conditions that require that narrower buffer were not created by the applicant, but are in place to meet federal regulations, this criteria seems to me to be one that we have evidence to support.
I agree.
I agree.
Any further discussion with respect to criteria number 4? As you worked your way through the Board of Zoning Appeals variance worksheet, if you determined, if you checked no based on any of those criteria, you should vote to not approve the variance request. So we've now discussed each of the criteria. We've adopted our factual record. I move that we adopt as our findings of fact the discussion that we just had on the record regarding each of the criteria, as well as, which is based upon the materials that have been presented to us.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
With 3 ayes, that will be adopted as our finding of fact.
All right, Mr. President, I'll go ahead and move that the Board of Zoning Appeals grant the variance request as presented before us.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made to grant the variance request as presented. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
With 3 ayes, the variance is approved. And I move that I be authorized to execute an order approving the action that we just took.
Second. Oh, good.
Both second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That, I will execute the order. All right. Given no public comment on the last agenda item, I'm suspecting that most of the people here plan to speak on the next one. Could I just so that I can have an idea of what this portion of the hearing is going to look like, could I get a show of hands for everyone who wishes to speak regarding the Masha Realty appeal? Okay, looks like about 5 people. Okay. Mr. Call?
This is BZA 2023-01, Administrative Decision Appeal. Masha Realty 4 LLC has submitted a Putnam County zoning appeal application. The applicant is appealing an administrative decision which determined that Masha Realty 4 LLC cannot request parcel 57.2 of tax map 214-6767 Tays Valley Road, Scott Depot, West Virginia 25560, to be rezoned from C1 Suburban Commercial District to C2 High Density Commercial District, as that request would create a spot zoning scenario. State code authority for tonight's request may be found in Section 8A. For consideration of tonight's application, you may wish to reference zoning ordinance articles 100, 150, 200, 600, 650, 1900, 2000, and 2100. The facts in the timeline. On March 30th of 2023, the planning director, myself issued a written administrative decision to Mr. Blake Miller on behalf of Masha Realty 4 LLC about the subject parcel, a proposed rezoning request, and creating a spot zoning scenario. A current zoning map was included as part of the administrative decision. You can see attachment A in your packet for the entire March 30th, 2023 decision correspondence with the zoning map. There's also, for your convenience, a zoning map on the easel, if anyone wishes to see a larger version of that. Supplementary data was received and considered in the formation of this administrative decision. You'll see that in attachment B, your packet. On April 27th of 2023, Masha Realty 4 LLC submitted a Putnam County zoning appeal application to appeal the March administrative decision, which determined Masha Realty 4 LLC cannot request parcel 57.2 of tax map 214, address 6767 Tays Valley Road, Scott Depot, West Virginia 25560, to be rezoned from C1 Suburban Commercial District to C2 High Density Commercial District, as that would create a spot zoning scenario. The submitted appeal application and disclosure statement is included as attachment C. On May 4th of 2023, Masha Realty submitted correspondence specifying the reason for their appeal submission, and that is attachment D. July 18th, 2023, a public hearing notice for the subject appeal of an administrative decision was mailed to abutting landowners within 250 feet. On July 20th of 2023, the public hearing for this appeal of an administrative decision was legally advertised in the Hurricane Breeze. Chapter 5, Findings and Conclusion of Putnam County's Adopted Comprehensive Plan is included as attachment E, and the entire plan is at the President's seat if you choose to review it. On August 18th, 2023, a sign advertising this public hearing was placed on site. Pictures of the subject parcel are included as attachment F. On August 21st, 2023, a citizen submitted a letter received from Masha Realty, and you will see that as attachment G. Office staff have received many public inquiries about the subject application. Each citizen communicated their desire to have the current zoning district of the property remain and are against a rezoning request. Some citizens submitted written correspondence, and a few persons desired staff to document their opinion and present it to the board. Other citizens did not wish to formally document their opinion, as it is their intent to represent themselves at this public hearing. You can see attachment F. In addition to attachment F, as of yesterday afternoon, we received a letter from Harold and Georgianne Ash, a copy of which each of you have at your seat. And as of this morning, staff received a petition from the public with 54 signatures opposing this rezoning request, a copy of which is at your individual seats. That is the summary. In the timeline, I am open for questions and or comments. As far as your discussion, you can decide whether or not to uphold the administrative decision, reverse or modify the administrative decision, which can be found as attachment A.
Any questions for Mr. Cole? Mr. Cole, in the packet, there is, it's attachment B, there are some, what appear to be law review articles or legal encyclopedia entries. Can you, do you know where those came from?
Yes, are you referring to the document that is a memorandum relative to spot zoning definitions?
The first one, it has attachment B printed on the front.
Okay.
And it appears to be from a book titled American Law of Zoning.
Yes, that would be from our law books, from our attorney, Mr. Fry.
Okay.
These are excerpts from that document. And as you scan through, relative passages are highlighted.
Do you know if the applicant has been provided with copies of these materials in attachment B?
They have been discussed. They would be, I don't think anyone is here tonight. I don't see anyone here from Masha. They would have received a packet tonight had they came to the hearing, but we discussed these items, but as far as this documentation, not to my knowledge.
They are aware of the issue to your knowledge, they're aware of the issue presented being one of spot zoning.
That is correct. We had a very lengthy discussion the day of the application, and they decided to proceed with the appeal of the administrative decision.
So they requested the appeal,
That's correct.
and they're not here.
They are not here. To my knowledge, I don't see anyone here, or I guess they would have raised their hand if they're here.
We'll ask that in just a moment. Any other questions for Mr. Call? Under the ordinance, there are specific requirements for an appeal that's filed. Mr. Call, do you know whether the appeal filed by Masha complies with those requirements in Article 2100.07?
I know that our office certainly complied with those conditions, and Masha provided our office with a letter, see as attachment D, which is their response, a written response relative to their desire to contradict the decision. But as far as I know, we followed all of the ordinance regulations to the T.
Is there any record where we've allowed spot zoning in Putnam County? Have we ever done that before?
Not that I'm aware of. It's
So there's no precedence for this?
No. So if you look at the map, the nearest C2 to the existing parcel is a half a mile to the northeast, and that's across the interstate. it's over a half a mile, three-fourths of a mile to the northwest across the interstate.
Okay.
So there are no C2s anywhere near that parcel on the southern side of the interstate. So there is no C2 at all in that area.
So Masha filed attachment C as their appeal.
Correct.
And that was filed on April 27. Appears, or at least was received on April 27.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Stamped on April 27th, correct.
They also issued a letter, not addressed to anyone, which we have as attachment D. The letter itself is dated April 11, 2023, but it's stamped as received May 4, 2023.
That sure is. I question that date in the heading of the document, because the application, we received the application on April 27th, yet this date on the letter is April 11th, so I can't explain that.
Did, under the ordinance, the appeal shall specify the reasons for the appeal and shall be made within 30 calendar days. I don't see any specification in their appeal document, attachment C, as to the reasons for the appeal.
It says denial of application to rezone the subject parcel from C1 to C2. Variance request, specify the variance request, specify the reason for the variance request. It was left blank. Now, they did, on the letter that is dated 4/11, which I can only assume that is a typo since we received it on May 4th, they have some verbiage relative to what they plan to do or wish to do with the property, but on the application form, as you said, it is blank.
That was received, I know the letter's dated April 11th, but that attachment D, the letter from the applicant, was not received until May 4, 2023.
That's what our stamp says. If that was stamped correctly, there's,
The initial administrative decision was issued on March 30.
yes, and there was a situation where this was up for a public hearing and we didn't have a quorum, so it was pushed back. So the administrative decision was issued quite earlier. You see on March 30th. Let's see, the application. '27. Yeah,
Well, my question is, it appears that the letter which may explain the basis for the appeal was not actually received within 30 days of the decision being appealed, about 40 days.
Well, I don't have documentation of that. It could have,
That's, well, it appears that the written administrative decision was March 30.
correct.
They filed their appeal as attachment C on April 27, that was timely, but no real explanations included. Then on May 4, outside of 30 days, they filed, Masha filed attachment, what we have as attachment D, which is their letter. That appears to be, that explanation appears to have been filed untimely. The other, there's a little bit of chatter out from the folks in attendance. If you could, please be quiet while we deliberate, or while we discuss these issues. Another requirement of the ordinance is the appeal or application shall include a list of the property owner's names and addresses located within 250 feet of the affected area as of record in the county, in the office of the Putnam County Assessor. Based on your review of the appeal, is that list included by Masha?
It was. It's not, we do not have it included here in this summary, but they did submit that, and we did submit the letters to the abutting landowners. It says on July 18th, I'm looking back on the facts and timeline in the summary. On July 18th, public hearing notice for the subject appeal of an administrative decision was mailed to abutting landowners within 250 feet. That would have been a list that Masha obtained from the mapping department downstairs.
Okay. Do you know if that, so Masha did provide a list of abutting landowners within 250 feet of the property?
They did.
Did they also include with that the tax map and parcel numbers for each of the properties that was identified as an abutting landowner?
You know, I do not have that here in this summary. I would just have to simply assume that they did. We're looking, staff has the file here, we're looking through.
Masha originally submitted this list right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 names. It does have, it references the address, and it does give the parcel numbers. We always double check it. And so the assessor's office ran the parcel, and they gave us a full list directly from the assessor's office. And we also went on a school, we ran a 250-foot buffer to make sure that we got them all. During the time that we originally received this, and before the July 18th, whenever July mailing, we had also added to the list that we sent out, names and addresses of some residents who had called, who were outside of that 250-foot loop, and we added them to the final list of the
What was the list submitted by the applicant complete?
No, the list submitted by the applicant did not contain all of the names and addresses as we received from the assessors.
How many?
Several. I have the list here.
Well, I think, I think this is, I'm asking these questions because I think we've got a threshold issue. And that is if you know, the ordinance is clear, the appeal or application shall include a list of the property owner's names and addresses located within 250 feet of the affected area. If they did not, I'm not sure they've complied with what they need to do to file an appeal. So I think we probably should include their list or a copy of their list, as well as the list that the assessor, that you, working with the assessor, determined was the property. I'd like to make a copy and add it to the record. Unless that is a copy. If it's a copy, I'll take it. Since I've monopolized the time while that copy's being made, I'll open the floor to other people who might have questions.
They should have sent out, this is open right now. They can't? Okay. On the original zoning request, those people should have received registered letters about the project. And I don't know whether they may have been thinking they've already done that and they didn't have to do it again.
Yeah.
You know, I can't get in their mind, but they did do that on the original zoning. They had to have done that on the original
Yeah.
zoning.
Any other questions while we're waiting? While we're sort of in an impasse, let me ask, no one has come into the building, or into the room since we started this portion of the public hearing. Is there anyone here on behalf of the applicant, appellant, Masha Realty 4? No one has stood up as being here to on behalf of Masha Realty. Mr. Call, do you mind to look in the hall and see if there's anyone waiting?
Sure.
Or anyone standing in the hallway? Mr. Call's indicated that no one is standing in the hallway.
Mr. President, in reference to no one from Masha being here tonight, I would like to just add to the record that on August 30th, Mr. Miller was sent a letter informing him of tonight's hearing.
Thank
If
you.
that makes a difference.
Was that letter sent, how was that letter sent?
Was it certified? Very good.
Does the, let me ask this, was the letter sent in a way that complies with the notice requirements of the ordinance statute?
Was the letter sent to? We'd have to check the file. We're checking it right now.
So I have before me three documents. The first has in boldface print at the top, property owners within 250 feet of 6767 Tays Valley Road. It is stamped with a red and blue stamp that says received April 27, 2023. It contains 4 names: Jacqueline Van Dyke, Wright Morris, R-I-T-E, Clark Tracy Moneyhan, and Susan McGraw. Pass that around for everyone to see. I also have an email from Jenny Harpold, whose email address includes the label wvassessor.com. It reads, Bell Acres has a lot of tiny lots that were all in the area. I thought it was a lot too, so I rechecked. And it contains $21 separate owners on the first page, and approximately 33 on the second page. Do I understand it, Ms. Sargent, that email from the West Virginia assessor is the abutting owners within 250 feet of the subject property?
Yes, the owners of all individual pieces of land within that.
And that email was not included in the applicant's appeal?
No, staff got that separately after the application.
The only information about land or about abutting owners was included in the document we first spoke of, which contained those 4 names. And the third document before me is about a page and a third of addresses. Sergeant, do you know what this is?
That's labeled.
Okay, so these are who you all provided notice to. But these were also not included in the applicant's appeal.
These property owners.
This is these are the address labels that were created from the second document, which was like to make each of those 3 documents exhibits A or
Doesn't matter, anyone making all one exhibit.
I was going to do 3.
Do 1, 2, 3.
Let's do 1. Exhibit 1 will be the document with 4 names that I just referenced. Exhibit 2 will be the email that I discussed, and Exhibit 3 will be the printout of mailing labels.
You all send it back over to your office. Whenever you're finished looking at it.
That's all the questions I have of staff. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions, staff? I'll ask once again, although again, no one has walked in the room. Is anyone here on behalf of Masha Realty 4? For the record, no one has indicated they're with Masha Realty 4. typically at this point, we would ask members of the public to speak as well. But I think before we do that, we should consider the threshold issue of whether the applicant's appeal complies with the ordinance.
I don't believe it does.
To me, just looking at it, they submitted 4 names, and there were 40 or 50, I think,
Yeah.
that the assessor determined. The applicant is not here to speak to it. They received notice of the hearing today, but pursuant to the, lost it in my mess of papers. Pursuant to Article 2100.07A, the appeal shall include a list of the property owner's names and addresses located within 250 feet of the affected area as of record in the office of the Putnam County Assessor, or Putnam County Assessor. With that, I don't believe that they have met the threshold issue of complying with the ordinance to appeal.
I agree with that. I mean, looking at the list, 4 names on one and multiple on the other one,
Yeah. If you add to that, the basis for their appeal appears to be at least filed late, but I think that's an independent issue. I think the threshold, I'm sure it was very eloquent. The basis of their appeal, the letter that was the basis of their appeal appears to have been submitted late, but that is a separate issue. The threshold issue, I think, really is whether it meets the language of the ordinance, which says the applicant shall, which means it's a mandatory requirement that the appeal include the names of each of the abutting landowners within 250 feet. So with that, I move that we dismiss the appeal as being properly filed.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made to dismiss the appeal and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
With 3 ayes, the appeal is dismissed. We are here, there's a number of people here, so to the extent that anybody from the public wishes to speak, we'll open it up, but we have just voted to dismiss this appeal. Does anybody wish to speak? Yes, ma'am? Yes, please come up. You might have to adjust the microphone down.
I expect I will.
Just, if you would, just,
I'm not going to grow at this stage. My name is Jacqueline Van Dyke. I'm on that list.
Jacqueline Van Dyke?
Yes. I live at 67.
Okay.
And I live at 6739 Tays Valley Road, next door to this property. I have a question. I have a statement I'd like to make, but I do have a question. If this appeal is denied because it didn't meet the proper form of being presented, can they come back and make another appeal?
we are not able to give you legal advice, but you could consult with an attorney to give you that answer.
Well, you know what the ordinance is as far as the timing of whether they can appeal a decision. So my question would be, since you're saying that this isn't, it's dismissed now, do they have like the 30-day window to make an appeal on that?
We are not able to give legal advice, but typically after, I mean, you can laugh, but we're not. We're not your lawyers, we're not their lawyers.
I understand that. But you do know what the rule says as far as when they can appeal,
Yes,
the
and those
timeframe.
ordinances are available, but they do have an appeal period from this to circuit court.
And as far as you know, there's no limit on how many times they could appeal?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Well, that was.
Typically you can appeal once.
Okay. And from their point of view, they don't have anybody here to speak up, and apparently they won't be able to use the property for the purpose that they bought it. But I would like to say that property was part of a farm that my husband's family bought back in the 1940s, And the big house on it that was Randolph Engineering for a number of years was the original farmhouse. And then they built a house next door, basically. And over the years, they've given land that was made into Tay's Villa, which I think many of the people here are from, and which was made into Bell Acres, and it's always been a nice residential area. And I think all of us would hate to see that change. And to me, the idea of, I understand they want to put a car lot there, and even if it was small, I think that would definitely change the nature of that part of the community. So I commend you for denying it in the first place, and I hope you will continue along that line. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rita Morris, and R-I-T-A, not Morris. Uh-huh. It's not R-I-T-E, as it was listed on that. It's Rita Morris. It's 100 Bell Acres. I am the adjacent property owner. My side yard abuts the property in question here. I did not get a notice, so I don't know. I've never gotten a notice from the first hearing or this hearing, only found out through neighbors that we're having a hearing. So I just wanted to say, when you spelled the name R-I-T-E, but I still would have opened it if I received it, you know. So I never got a notice, for one thing. And another thing is, I just wanted to point out, as she said, it is a nice residential area. My side yard, when I purchased the property in 2015, I actually thought that was all my yard. But since then, I have found out that half of it is my yard and half of it belongs with the Randolph Engineering. I found that out actually right before I closed on it, and have continued to maintain it all along. But my concern is, because it is a residential area, because I'm single, I live there alone, beside of my bedroom would be a car lot. And I have 3 small grandchildren, and it's a safe area for them right now. And I'd just like to state that I appreciate your all's decision to deny this appeal, because it has always been a safe place for me to be by myself and, you know, live there alone and with the children. And I don't know what happened, that I never received any of the notices, but I just felt like I should let you all know that. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
My name's Joyce Cooper. I live at Joyce Cooper. I live at 116 Bell Acres. In fact, as of yesterday, I've owned that home for 1 year. I'm new to Putnam County. Bell Acres is a wonderful neighborhood. It's beautifully maintained. It's peaceful. It's safe. It's a wonderful neighborhood. And actually, right now, in that neighborhood, the average home is going for $250,000 or more. And in the future, there will be homes in that neighborhood going for more than $250,000. I say to all of you, think about, would you want a car lot across the street from your house? And as we all know, if you've ever been in a car lot, there's people coming and going. When it's open, when it's closed, there's usually a big fence. There's usually high lights, bright lights on at night. There's, traffic. And again, would having a car lot up against your property devalue your property and one of maybe your major assets that you have? And I would like for you all and everyone to consider, would you want that in your neighborhood? And I know that that area is not a city, and so therefore zoning sometimes is an issue. I know that's an issue, and I know that area, we've got a store here and a house here, and that's very common in West Virginia where there's not been city zoning. And so I really thank you for taking the time. I thank you for really addressing this. I don't know if my name's on that list of 250 yards. I think I'm probably a little bit further than that, but I got no notice. And so I think that's an issue, and I really thank you for really giving this consideration and time.
Thank you. Bearing in, no, there's no need for clapping. This is not a celebration. This is a formal proceeding. Bearing in mind that the board has already voted to dismiss this appeal, does anyone still wish to speak? I don't want to stop anyone, but the board has already taken action on this item. Yes, sir.
I'll have a question, and that could dispense with the, I'm sorry, William Tucker. 161 Bell Acres. My question is I don't want to take any more time than we need to. Will we be notified if this comes up again? I mean, is it, I know you can't give legal advice. And like Ms. Morris, I know I'm within 250 feet, not as close as her, but, you know, word of mouth was how I got word of this until the last letter that came from the assessor's office, I assume. So I don't see any need of speaking, being as you've already dismissed it unless it comes up again. And I just wonder if the process will work the same.
Typically from here, and we, if you look, I believe it's on the website, I think the statutes and ordinances are on the website for the Board of Zoning Appeals. It will tell you the process. Generally, the process from here is an appeal to the circuit court in the back of the parking lot.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? All right, with that, based upon the notice deficiencies that we discussed, as well as the packet comments from staff and comments from members of the public, I move that I be authorized to write dismiss and dismissed on the proposed order and to execute it.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes, I'll execute the. We've been going for about an hour. We'll take stay on the record, we'll take just a couple of minute break. Let the room clear out.
Good night. That horse is bruised.
It wasn't a Walmart crap.
That is true. We had standing room only on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My firm was involved in that one, so I avoided that one.
That broke your heart.
It really did.
It broke. I know it did. Yeah.
Couldn't work on it here, told them there I couldn't work on it. It was a tough day.
Now that property's sitting over there in a big lawsuit, in behind where Wendy's is at, big lawsuit.
Oh, was it really? Oh, no, I did hear that.
Yeah, Alan Bell went in there to build it, but he had sold some apartments close by, and he had a do not compete for the guy that bought the apartments. So now Alan's sitting back there in that property. You know, I have been contemplating talking about buying that and finishing it up.
Be a good. That's gonna be a good project. I mean, that's a.
Yeah,
I would consider it.
I just don't know if I want to get back into it again.
You just be the idea, man. You got people to do the rest.
It's still there. It's still there.
All right. well, agenda item number 7, bylaw amendment presentation.
The next thing we'll discuss is the requested amendment to the BZA bylaws relative to the monthly meeting date and whether certain meetings can be conducted electronically. Bylaws amendment must be presented twice prior to the vote for adoption. We will consider this the first presentation. If you look in your packet, which is titled Putnam County Board of Zoning Appeals Bylaws, you'll see on page 2 the red highlighted language. This is language that our attorney, Mr. Fry, worked with the West Virginia Ethics Committee on. And I'll go ahead and read this, Section 1, regular meeting, proposed amendment language. The Board of Zoning Appeals shall meet monthly whenever there is an agenda item for their consideration, but at a minimum shall hold a meeting quarterly. As said quarterly meeting is required to fulfill West Virginia Code 8A85, and if there are no agenda items to be discussed at said meeting, the meeting may be held virtually or telephonically, provided the board members can hear each other and the public can hear the board members. The regular meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals shall be held on the second Thursday of the month at the Putnam County Courthouse located at 12093 Winfield Road, Winfield, West Virginia. If the second Thursday of the month shall fall on a holiday or any other day when the Putnam County Courthouse will be closed, the regular meeting of the month shall be held on the following Thursday at the same location. Then if you'll turn over to the next page, Section 4, telephone and video conferencing attendance at meetings. In order for a member to serve until a final determination is made in a matter, a member may attend a meeting by telephone or video conferencing if they attend and heard evidence at a meeting when action was postponed or tabled and are unable to attend the future meeting when action is to be taken. They must inform the secretary of their absence at least 2 days in advance of the meeting so arrangements may be made for electronic attendance. During the meeting, the member must be recognized by the presiding officer in order to obtain the floor, make motions, and debate. The board member attending the meeting by telephone or video conferencing must be able to hear the other board members and be heard by the public. So those are the proposed amendments to the Board of Zoning Appeals bylaws that we discussed at our last meeting. And as I stated previous, we can consider this the first presentation of said proposed amendment.
I think that will make getting a it's all. Any questions on that? All right. Agenda item 8, citizen concerns. No one left in the gallery, so assuming none. Staff report.
Our next meeting? Did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
There is, I'm sorry, there is an agenda.
Good. Unfinished business? New business? I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Since everybody seconded, I think everybody's in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. They still want to test. You gotta, you gotta let her. If you don't, you will feel unheard and they get mad.
Oh, and Melissa's little stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, I Good to see you. Happy anniversary again.
Thank you.
Use those to take notes.
Things are gold. Thank you.